Hello and welcome to Postgres FM, a weekly show about all things PostgreSQL. I am Michael, founder of pgMustard. This is my co-host Nikolay, founder of Postgres.ai. Hey Nikolay, what do you want to talk about this week?
Hi Michael, it's very boring. Next time I should introduce ourselves. I wanted to do it this time. Next time it's my turn. Let's not repeat. Let's have less boring episode. Let's talk about ChatGPT.
Yeah,
it's time. I guess during last 3 months, since roughly 3 months, right? GPT-4 released. Everyone already tried it at least a few times, and
yeah, exactly. Hopefully, we're not going to cover any of the basics in terms of what it is and everything. I think pretty much everybody knows that already, and if not, I'm sure other people have done it better than we possibly could. But you want to talk about how people can be using it with Postgres, whether they should, what the risks are, what the opportunities are, that kind of thing?
Right, and there are many ways, many angles, but let's not talk about. Let's talk about not about pgvector and how to put embeddings and how to extend behavior of ChatGPT and so on, but GPT-4 and so on, like GPT-3, 4, 5. Let's talk about user experience to support SQL developer experience, and you are a database engineer, or you are backend engineer who needs to work with Postgres, and maybe you are DBA who needs to work with Postgres. What can it bring you? Pros and cons. Right? Let's talk about these aspects. I mean, pgvector is a great thing, and we see Supabase, Neon, and even RDS recently started to provide it. It's it's super cool. A lot of new ideas are being implemented, but let's put this topic aside and focus only on regular user experience. I'm a user. I'm a developer. I'm developing my app, or I'm a DBA, or I'm writing SQL code, or I am analyzing my data using SQL, data analysts or something. How ChatGPT can help, and so on.
Sounds good. I like this topic because I think it's gonna be one of the ones we disagree most on. So I think I'm sorry in advance
because I won't. Sorry for interrupting. I'm trying to be less boring. I hope we will disagree 100% in all aspects in this topic.
Yeah, maybe not all aspects, but I think I'm a lot more negative about some of these things, or a lot more conservative, maybe cautious than you are based on our previous discussions. Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
You're not alone. Let's see. I take it as a valid assumption that everyone already tried it at least once. The only thing is that is GPT-4 version still for paid customers, or it's for free as well?
I believe it's still paid only.
Right. So a lot of people, default is 3.5, right? A lot of people used 3.5. And my first point, don't use it. It's like huge step.
Is it fair to say, version 4 is a lot better in some very noticeable
ways. Just don't
ways.
Use 3.5. Don't use 3.5. Don't use integration with 3.5. Don't use it. Forget about it.
So, quick thing, if you see people sharing screenshots, I think an easy way of telling the difference is on version 4, you'll see it's a black logo when ChatGPT is responding, and in 3.5 it's a green logo. So that's an easy way of seeing what somebody's used.
In all my experience, 3.5 was quite silly, stupid, and very basic, and a lot of hallucination. 4. Sometimes a lot of hallucination still, but so more deep and wide. So you ask something and it provides a lot of peace. This aspect, I forgot about it. You can dig then, right, into some aspect, but it gives you, you are closer to completeness of some topic. So it provides so just use version 4. It's much, much, much better. That's why when it was released, a new wave of attention, huge wave of attention has started. But as I said, you're not alone being pessimistic. Assuming everyone tried, right? I'm checking poll results. I started a couple of days ago on LinkedIn, on Twitter, where I have thousands of followers. So I asked, do you use ChatGPT for your Postgres-related work? 3 options: not at all, a few times per week, or already a daily user. And the Twitter, 80% not at all, 80. 15, few times per week.
How many voted?
How many voted? 99.
Okay, wow.
Not
good
many.
Sample, decent sample.
Not many, but I started it 2 days ago, so sometimes I have more votes during 2 days. And already a daily user, just 5%. Just 5%. I'm close to being already daily user. So, and LinkedIn, similar, actually better in terms of positive usage. Not at all 60, few times 30, daily user 10.
And sample again?
Sample 81, also not many.
Okay. Yeah, but not 10.
Not 10, yeah, around 100, but yeah, not many. And with thousands of impressions, I guess many people just not vote. I think right now.
You?
So, what I feel when GPT-4 was released, huge wave started, huge, it was boom, right? Now we're on declining side, but it's going to change, I bet. It's going to change because, of course, GPT-5, when it will be released later this year, maybe next year. Well,
have they announced that?
There are some rumors, I guess, only.
Sure.
Maybe later this week, maybe next year. But of course, this will be a boom. But also, I think people are developing new integrations, they adjusting methodologies and so on. It's going to stay, in my opinion. So I'm very positive that it's a super helpful thing, and I'm using it almost daily. But so many people disagree. I see it. We see posts like "don't use it at all," which is wrong. I say use it a lot. Just use version 4. Of course, it has like this stupid limitation, 25 messages per 3 hours. I often bump into it. And then it says, okay, switch to 3.5, and 3.5 is just terrible in my experience compared to what version 4 provides.
So how come you're using it so much? What kinds of things are you using it for?
Good. So yeah, let's explore this. Where to start? Developer or administrative, like infrastructure tasks? Engineering,
just
development
tasks? Or maybe focus more on what's the most common things you use it for, like what in terms of frequency. How come it's nearly daily?
I don't need help with SQL usually. Well, yeah, I don't need help with SQL. Actually, let me to be honest. Yesterday I don't use procedures often, and yesterday I needed to code some procedure, not function. Well, I could do function as usual, but I wanted transaction control. So it's something which talks to external service, right from Postgres primary, which is not good, but in this case we do it understanding problems. So, and I saw some examples somewhere in the documentation and saw begin atomic, and I actually didn't know what begin atomic is. Well, I can guess, right? So I asked ChatGPT. It says I'm like version September 2021, outdated. Postgres doesn't support begin atomic. It says. Obviously it does, just in new versions. Begin atomic inside the procedure. But then it says, in SQL standard, this means this. It means that the whole body will be single transaction. Well, okay, obviously. Seems obvious. And I'm sure Postgres documentation would explain it just on the same, not on the same page. I just searched for it, didn't find it. ChatGPT was faster way to understand it. Well, I understand. Okay, now it's single transaction. I don't need it. I need the regular begin and then commits to split to multiple transactions. It was useful. I mean, it was faster way to rather than Google or trying to find it in documentation. Documentation has this on different page, obviously, right?
Well, but can I just add at this point, it's super interesting that you use it for that. I wasn't expecting kind of factual checking to be the first use case, because my main fear with using it for things like that, like if I check the source code, even if it takes me a few seconds later, if I check the Postgres docs, I trust that it's true what it says. If I check ChatGPT, how do I know it's true? Like, of course, with an example like that, you believe it's true because that's also your instinct as to what begin atomic was going to mean. But I get incorrect or false results often enough that I now no longer trust.
I don't see any problems here at all. Let's have some spectrum of level of trust. Documentation probably is the top trustworthy source of truth. But it has bugs sometimes also.
True, yeah.
Just it's not often at all.
Very low percentage.
It's not ideal still. It might have bugs. It might have false statements sometimes also, or misleading. But probability is tiny, right? Tiny.
Especially tiny for things that matter, right? Like if it was something that mattered, it would have been more likely to have been corrected. Like, right? So it's more likely to have bugs in places that don't matter so much. That would be my instinct.
Right. We're talking about Postgres documentation here.
Yes.
Because there are different kinds of documentation.
Let's suppose.
Now let's take books, for example. Give me any book. I will find a problem with logic and false statements. I mean, Postgres book. Give me any book. I will find it. Because they are much lower in terms of quality. I didn't see any super quality books at all.
The Art of Postgres?
Say it again?
The Art of PostgreSQL? Dimitri Fontaine?
I must admit, didn't read it fully, but okay, this is my homework. I will find problems in it.
Sorry, Dimitri.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, it's a very good book.
Well, maybe it will be not with logic, but something like a controversial statement or something. Easy, I will find it. And the same with
Marcus Wynn and SQL Performance Explained.
Very good example. This is very good example. Second challenge accepted. I will find some issues there.
You've read that one, surely.
Well, I read some parts of it.
Okay.
Of course, right. Yeah,
also very good book.
This is very quality book. You chose good examples.
Yeah, and this is my point about Google search as well, right? Like, so documentation very high. Postgres documentation very good. Books, because I know the authors, I have a higher level of trust. So if I can
it's just a couple of people plus more couple of people who are correct. It's just tiny group of people. They for sure make some mistakes. For sure.
I'm not questioning that. I'm just saying it's maybe slightly lower than documentation because I don't believe as many eyes have gone on it, and I don't believe it's as easy to correct. Although Postgres documentation could be easier to correct for sure. Then Google, like search results, for example. Again, you get some metadata, you get some information about who wrote this, when did they write this. You can like check some sources, and you build up a bunch, like over time, even on Stack Overflow, for example, over time you start to notice some people that give amazing answers, and some names I just trust more than others when it comes to like a Stack Overflow response. But on ChatGPT, I get no information about the source. Where did this information come from? Like, what's it derived from? You get no kind of... I don't get any signals as to whether to trust it or not.
You see Marcus Wynn, perfect author. I like have huge respect to this author. But if you don't know this name, where is trust coming from?
Yeah, I understand trust is built over time for sure. But if without the metadata, I can't build, like I can't...
Which metadata helped you understand that this book is good and this author is good?
No, sorry. The metadata being the author's name, like if, for example, helps me over time. Let's say the first time I read it, I check it's true. Okay, yes, that was good. And then the second time, and the third time, and the 10th time. And sometimes they teach me something that I didn't expect, or they question an assumption I had that I didn't realize I had. And then when I verify, it's true again.
Verify is the key thing I wanted in this episode to deliver. I don't trust anyone. Sometimes I don't trust documentation even. And in my whole practice with Postgres, consulting practice, my daily like development and so on, I often don't trust myself. I don't maybe I'm wrong. And this is normal. And the key point, you need to verify. You need to experiment, test, and so on. You need to know how to properly do it. For example, if you do something with a large data set, use large data set, and so on, right? And same here. And sometimes you have doubts even, of course, some authors produce super high quality statements and share super high quality thoughts. For example, Tom Lane in PG Skill Hackers. In 99%, unbeatable logic, right? But sometimes some statements, even from Tom Lane, I could argue, and some people could argue as well, because life is not like simple. Like it has so many aspects, and so again, maybe for example, Tom Lane said something, but for your particular case, cannot be applied, for example, or you have different experience, and Tom Lane said don't use this approach, but you're still using it and you find it super helpful in your case. It might happen. Same so. If you consider ChatGPT as some consultant, and version 4 should be used again, because version 3.5 after some iterations you will find level of trust going down. But version 4, okay, assume everything with grain of salt, verify. The magic is that you can tell, you say something, but there is something wrong here, right? And it can fix problems. It adjusts. So this chain of communication. Sometimes it's annoying, every answer starts, I apologize for confusion, right? It's like, I have it so many times, but it's super helpful. I hired someone, and the guy is super fast in answering, and has super wide knowledge, right? Sometimes quite deep as well, but might hallucinating sometimes. It's okay. And if I have a very good way to verify ideas and iterate, I cannot understand how to live without it at all.
Yeah, so you're saying that having access to ChatGPT 4 is like hiring somebody with incredibly incredible breadth of knowledge, sometimes very deep knowledge about all sorts of, and they're always online. They always reply straight away. They're never in the middle of something else, or except when you run out of queries per hour. Yeah, I completely agree with that. The one thing I would say is a bit different.
No. I need to explain. Electrician came, turned off electricity. We had interruption. It's okay. He replaced something. Now it's working much better, unlike my internet probably. So we discussed employee style. You hired someone and you don't trust this employee 100%. You need to verify ideas and sometimes tell, you're probably wrong. You can work with ChatGPT as with person. And interesting that in my consulting career with Postgres Consulting, since I moved to California 10 years ago, I was no name here, right? Initially, no name. And when I go to companies like Chewy, GitLab, and others, they doubt everything you say, everything. By the way, I hear echo, Michael. I hear echo. Maybe echo cancellation needs to be turned on. Sorry, one more.
We both have it already.
Okay, sorry. So if you say something, you need to prove you are right. And the best way to prove, obviously, is to try and show how it works. And explain in very detail how to repeat it. So you you say something, you claim something, and you show how to check it, to verify it. And if you consider ChatGPT is not 100% reliable, thing. It's not documentation, right? It's some consultant who is wrong sometimes. Pretty much quite often wrong, but we allow it to be wrong sometimes, right? But we need without a way to verify it, you will end up concluding that this is a bad tool. With verification approach, verify everything, doubt everything and verify it.
Yeah,
and
so
if it shows mistakes, show these mistakes and ask to fix them. It works very well.
One big difference versus a consultant or a human in general, or at least the types of humans I would employ, is that when it is wrong, it's very confidently wrong. There's no, it doesn't say I'm not sure or it doesn't ever. Yeah. It's very, very confident in its answers, which is very different from humans. So that's a big difference, but it's also a lot cheaper than humans. So I think it's not a fair comparison at all.
Good consultants always put some doubt element into all statements. Like I would say that, or most likely, blah blah blah, and so on. Like there are many intro phrases that consultants use, which assume some probability of mistake, not to pay high price, like this or that. And my own style is I always say I'm not sure. I'm never sure. Like in our own episodes, I was wrong many times. For example, I responded to some YouTube comment where I corrected myself that delete doesn't have. I claimed delete has an index amplification problem. It doesn't, because deletes just put xmax to tuple. Indexes are not touched. And I corrected myself in YouTube comment, and someone asked to explain, to elaborate, which I did. I want some other time. I can elaborate some other time. But when I elaborated in that comment, I thought, maybe I'm wrong, I checked docs, I didn't check source code. I checked Igor Rogov's Postgres inside Postgres.
Internals, book. Yep.
No, it's not internal. It's inside Postgres. In Russian, it's inside Postgres.
Okay.
Perfect book, by the way. But yeah, fully translated to English and so on, but published on.
Perfect book without mistakes. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
I'm teasing you. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there are mistakes there, but well, if you ask, I'm sure if you ask Igor, he will admit some probability of mistakes there.
Of course.
Good authors always admit it, and good consultants always. So what I did eventually, before I put comment to YouTube, I went to pSQL and verified everything I'm going to say, and then I added it to the comment, and I found in my consultant's practice that this is we always need to do. If we claim something, show it, right?
And that's something ChatGPT can't do.
It can. I mean, yes and no. ChatGPT cannot, but you can, assuming it can be wrong, assuming it can be hallucinating, ask ChatGPT to provide some ideas. Example, it's a brainstorm tool. It's not verification tool.
There you go. Yeah.
But then you need verification tool. And I'm going to shamelessly advertise what we do. Postgres.ai, DB Lab. This is perfect verification tool. Database branching, thin cloning. If you have ChatGPT and if you have cheap and fast way to check anything, well, of course, you cannot check hard things like hardware change and so on. But SQL query behavior on large data sets, thin cloning and database branching is priceless here, right? People work on bottomless, on serverless, but we work on priceless thing, which is database branching, true database branching on any Postgres, any location. This is my company, my product. So you take ChatGPT and you go verify on a clone. Clone is provisioned in a second for free. No, I mean, you need to prepare it, but then you have 0 extra costs. And then you can iterate. Okay, you say, on my 1 terabyte database, this is what I see. And I have, I'm considered like as a human, like it might be mistaken. So you propose something which is not working on my 1 terabyte database, and it will adjust. And in a couple of iterations, you will have much better results. And I think this is something you hear. With code, it works pretty well. I already used it for Ansible coding, shell scripting, like some advanced shell scripting. React coding, I'm not a React expert at all, but I did many things. With ChatGPT, I can do many things. Because with code, you can easily check it very quickly, because you can run it. If it's C, probably you need to wait until it's been compiled, right?
That's a really good point, though. It's easy to verify quite quickly. I've heard similar things about writing.
With databases, you need database branching. So go to Neon. If you cannot go to Neon, go to us. That's it.
Okay. So we've actually skipped a bit. We've gone. Originally, we were talking about kind of verifying things that you could check in the docs, for example, or asking it for factual information. Now we're talking about trying out ideas, like idea generation, brainstorming. And now I get for isolated things, it's very easy to test those things. What about like system-wide issues? Like if you're asking about, I don't know, some modeling question, or if you're asking about, like, would you use it for that kind of thing where it's like you're asking architectural decisions? Is this a good idea or is that a good idea?
Everything is a good idea. It absorbed a lot of stuff. It absorbed Stack Overflow. It absorbed a lot of stuff. Of course, sometimes it's again hallucinating easily. But if you prepend all responses, like take it with a grain of salt, this is what I think. As would any good consultant say, like, so without verification, I can say this, but it should, like, this needs thorough verification. But from top of my mind, I think this: if you prepare something like consultant style phrase to any ChatGPT responses, if you use GPT-4, it will become it will become very good, useful tool. You unlock your ideas, and then you go to verify them. Then you come back and say this is not working, and so on. Data modeling, perfect example. Seeding is perfect example. I have new tables I haven't launched yet. I used it recently. I have some rows already there, like which is probably represent my data in future. Can you generate more? Okay, I have 10 rows. I want 10 gigabytes of rows. Can you help me? It says, okay, use this snippet with generate series, which this is my real life example. ChatGPT version 4 provided some pretty interesting generated series example with very useful comments. You can adjust these parameters in this snippet. Mm-hmm. It was super helpful. Like I would spend some time generating this. I used it and said, I wanted 10 gigabytes, but this produced only 3. It says, no worries, adjusted. We generated 7 more gigabytes in second iteration. And I found it like, okay, I have now some data set. I can start testing my application using this data set. Yeah. This is a very valid case.
Yeah, I can see that. I've had similar experience with helping me generate. I needed an example for a blog post, and I think sometimes I get blocked on those. Just trying to think a little bit creatively about what would be a good way. Use it? Yeah, I've used it, but my experience is different. I pay for 4 as well at the moment. And then
going to stop. Hold on.
Maybe gonna stop. I haven't used it for a couple of weeks, but sometimes, like if I'm blocked creatively, I found it helpful. I like your premise that it can be used as a brainstorming tool. I very much agree that it can be really helpful for some creative ideas. But my experience is different.
Sorry for interrupting as usual. Sorry. In brainstorm approach, like enterprise style, we always say, like during brainstorm, don't criticize ideas. We just collect ideas.
Yeah, and
even stupid ideas. If you work at large companies, they usually try to have culture when even stupid ideas are like recorded. Don't criticize them during brainstorm. Don't demotivate people. So don't demotivate ChatGPT. It tries its best.
But it also lies, and that's it also doesn't say
as
I'm not
humans
sure,
do.
or it depends. Yeah, but it lies way more explicitly. And one thing I'd say is I think the reason lots of people disagree on this is I think it's a little bit half glass full, half glass empty type viewing of it. When I see people praising ChatGPT, they could easily get an answer that has 10 bullet points in it, and 7 of them are quite impressive, and 3 of them are garbage. Now the person, the glass half full person's like, oh my goodness, how did it get those 7 so good? And they know enough that the 3 are not dangerous or are not a problem if it's talking complete nonsense or if it's suggesting really bad ideas. Whereas I think it's a very fair criticism to say that there are 3 quite dangerous pieces of advice in there. Please don't listen to what this thing's saying. And I think that's where some people are coming from. I think we saw that post by Christofides just a couple of days ago saying don't use it for advice because sometimes it's really badly wrong and stuff.
That's naive statement.
But do you see the different? Do you see the different angles? You could be viewing the exact same 10 bullet points, and one person says this is amazing, and one person says this is dangerous.
If you hire a consultant, it's going at some point to be mistaken. Again, prepend my prefix to all responses.
Yeah.
If OpenAI would be more I don't know, they should probably do it.
But I agree.
Instead of I apologize for confusion, they should prepend in the first answer. They should prepend take this with a grain of salt. This is what I think, without verification.
Then it wouldn't be impressive. Yeah, it would be much less impressive.
So in 2016, 17, I started to give talks about database experiments. Mm-hmm. My approach is verify everything.
Yeah.
And of course it might take ages to verify everything. That's why we need to simplify it, to speed it up, to make it cheap experiments, right? And we found a way. Think-only database branching. It's recipe for most of needs backend engineers have. Not DBAs and infrastructure teams. They have different needs. But programmers, backend engineers, and front-end engineers sometimes, we can satisfy them very well with think-owning and database branching. So with this approach, zero trust approach, if security have a zero trust approach, why couldn't we have this with development? Okay, someone has some idea, but without verification, we have zero trust into it. We say thank you, but we are going to check it. With this approach, I cannot see how you can consider ChatGPT as a bad tool at all.
Right. I think we've covered accuracy quite well. I wanted to ask a couple more things. First one, privacy. How are you feeling about their privacy policy in general? How do you think about that?
PII, right? Okay, that's tough question. Before we go there, let me remind our listeners that we had a beautiful session with ChatGPT and SQL optimization. It's on Postgres TV YouTube channel. I would like to have another one. It would be great.
There were some funny moments and some. Yeah, it was a good. I think we spent a long time in the end.
Yes, but summary was it exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, it was quite good at a few things, and I think we gave it quite a good example. I think we only checked one example.
It exceeded only not at first iteration. So, secret sauce was verification, because I said, I tried this, it doesn't help, but I also said I know there is a good answer. Well, you can say it always, right? So it's
but
not
you don't
something
think to, right? You don't.
I didn't have any clues. I didn't have any I didn't reveal anything. It found proper answer after iterations, and I insisted, right? So
extra prompts, second
extra
and third
prompts. I said let's try again, and eventually it provided a very good example, and we verified it, and that index was great. And this is what I also explored myself. Also not at first iteration. No, there are no perfect humans. So If you consider ChatGPT as more like a human, it helps.
Well, I was thinking about, so on the topic of SQL optimization, I obviously, as a product maker, I was thinking, should I be using this in my product? Or like, how is it a threat? It's a direct, in a way, if it can be used for SQL optimization, it's a direct competitor to the product I make. So it's naturally a very serious thought. And maybe I'm deliberately negative. That's probably, consultants being negative on it and telling you not to use it could also be self-preservation, right? Same with a tool maker who it could be competitive to. But what I wanted to say was the reason I've not used it yet in the product, or not, the reason I'm not planning to anytime soon, is we want to give advice that is trustworthy, that does come with a lot of, it does optimize to not give those false positives, those bad advice that's dangerous, and that's something I'm not willing to, exactly, even at the cost of not always giving the quickest response, or not always giving. Yeah, so I think there's an interesting trade-off there.
My approach is very different. Mm-hmm. I've learned in my life that it's good in terms of finding interesting results. It's good to generate a lot, like this brainstorm approach. You generate crazy ideas, a lot of them, and then just go and verify them. If verification takes limited time and limited budget, it's great. So I would rather choose 10 ideas, 3 of them are crazy and wrong, than just 5 ideas which are trustworthy. I would grab 10 and go verify them. My approach is like, give me all ideas. I'm going to verify, like I have zero trust to any statements. So I'm going to verify myself anyway, right? And without this verification component, we have only half story here.
Well, so the thing we try and do is give you scored, try and give you 3 ideas or up to 3 ideas, and give you the scores. So like trying to say this one's the most we think this is the most likely to help. Then the second one is this is the second most likely to help. So I think it's a bit different. I haven't seen ChatGPT like be able to do that kind of thing.
This is great. I thought about it as well. Like for example, in general, in like AI area, in machine learning, they have usually they have confidence level. It's normal to have, like, we predict this at confidence level this, but ChatGPT lacks it right now. I would be happy to see it there. Like 10 statements and some like probability that it will work.
Yeah, on that note, I did actually see one interesting setting in one of the things you shared with me. As a DBeaver added a SQL generation feature.
To advertise it, yeah.
Whoa. But the very interesting setting, is what I found was they have a temperature setting which lets you set a number from 0 to 1. 0 being temperature, they call it. 0.0.
Celsius or Fahrenheit?
0 to 1, so I don't know what the scale is. Yeah. But 0 being the end that's the most accurate, and 1 being the level that's the most creative. So this
is trade-off. ChatGPT?
Yeah, I don't know what
I'm very curious. I didn't notice it. Okay, I'm going to explore it. It's interesting.
I'm not sure if it's a ChatGPT parameter for the API, or if it's something that DBeaver are playing with in terms of the prompt. Pardon me?
Well, people use LangChain. There is a company which is very new, like just got funding and so on, which combines various LLM models, including ChatGPT, and allows like to have unified interface to all of them and so on. And maybe they provide it. I'm just guessing here.
It could be like, prompt engineering as well.
I'm not sure. You need to verify it, right? What I just said.
My point is, it could be prompt engineering. They could be prepending your statement with please focus on accuracy over creativity, and then in a different one it could say please focus on creativity over accuracy.
Okay, but I'm blind here. I don't care. I will choose 0 confidence level and just go check everything. I have extreme approach: 0 trust and verification of everything.
Yeah.
My practice, my experience taught me to do this. Even with my own statements, I tried before I post comment, I try to illustrate it with some P-SQL session or something like that. If I say something, I say, look, and you can repeat it. And people are going to trust it because they see it was verified already by me. So imagine if you take ChatGPT and some verification tool. We are trying to advertise our own products here, which is fair, but I believe in my approach very well.
Yeah, my main point was that I don't think verification. Actually, let's skip. I'd rather go on to privacy, privacy, okay. And I want to ask about something else as well.
Why do you say privacy? Okay, sorry.
Maybe I don't know. Privacy, sure.
Privacy. Is it
okay. It's the same thing?
Okay. Okay. Sorry. So privacy. It's not resolved problem, and I remember in dbeaver, which you mentioned, they have bold statement. You can disable it here, fully disable it here. If you're scared, disable it here. Integration with ChatGPT, which is of course demonstrates that they know that many people are concerned. And we know some countries haven't banned ChatGPT, some already unbanned it. So it's still shaky area, right? It's not fully clear how to approach this. Because my question to you, OpenAI, is it about openness of everything? If you talk to ChatGPT revealing you some data and some secrets, is it going to be open as well because it's OpenAI? So
they
now
say
my
no.
SSN, bank account, routing number, everything is going to be open or what?
They say no, right? I know you're joking, but they say no. But do you it's an American company, right? It's for-profit company now, I believe. I know it started as I know it's supposed to be more of a non-profit initiative, but now I believe it's a fully for-profit company.
I pay them,
yeah,
twice.
Well, yeah, you could pay a non-profit as well. But yeah, so I think there's a real concern there. I've definitely seen some companies also not allow their employees to use it for some of these concerns. But the main reason I see people not using it or being told they can't use it is actually around IP. In terms of using what it tells you, about I guess it's around the ethics of it. How did they, the gathering of that information? Do you have any concerns on that side of how they got the information?
Sorry, let's split it into parts.
Mm-hmm.
We have SQL queries. We have explain plans, and we have some additional parts of IP like ideas and approaches and so on. I'm strong against patents and ideas. Ideas should flow, like scientific approach. You go to conference, share ideas, everyone takes it, improves it, and so on. And somebody, maybe not you, will win. Of course, many people will not agree with me in terms of patents and ideas, but this is my opinion. It's less American, maybe more European, right, in terms of patents, right? But I hate patents in general. And I know, friend of mine needed to hire a patent troll to protect from attack from some large company who tried to kill his startup.
Oh, really?
But patent troll it's very famous guy who attacked car makers like Ford and so on successfully, and he just got 10% shares of company of startup, and closed the problem. Problem closed, no more problem. That big company already moved, not attacking anymore. So I hate patents in general. I think it's bad for innovation and for progress. But if we talk about queries and plans, what do you think? What's the best name for a project that will solve it? pgMask or pgGloves or something else? Imagine a project.
I don't understand.
Okay. Imagine you talk to ChatGPT and you show some query and maybe some plans or explain plans, which pgMustard is working with as well. And before you're sending to ChatGPT, you just transform all table names, object names, and parameters to something.
Oh, like okay. So like Depez does that, right? Like anonymization tool.
Yeah. The Depeche has it for plans, explain plans, but it's Perl code. I'm still working on make it work. By the way, I'm using ChatGPT because I'm no Perl expert, and it's helpful. But I'm still having some issues with some libraries. I'm going to make it work. But anyway, imagine this project will like transform all object names to something like table 1, table 2, parameter.
You can anonymize it, send it through, get it back anonymized,
encode and then decode, right?
Yeah, I understand.
Or mask unmask or anonymize, de-anonymize.
By that
keep,
point,
mapping. I think it's good.
Sure, but casual users aren't going to like if we're talking about using ChatGPT directly at the moment. That's not super practical, and if it's a time-saving tool, that's like what's the point anymore? But but what about like you don't have any concerns around it? So
I have concerns about it.
Okay,
I have concerns like my query can have emails. I don't want them to be leaked, or SSN numbers, or some medical info. I don't want them to be leaked. I don't this data to be leaked. So of course I need some gloves or mask. What's the best name for this project? pgMustard or pgGloves or something else?
I don't think those do enough. I think anonymization is like pganon or something. Maybe that's not got good connotations.
Okay, I'll think about it more. But this is I bootstrapped it slightly, but I think it will have some negative effect because when you talk to ChatGPT, if you have some experience, you say this is table persons, it has or users, it has a column email, and from names, ChatGPT also can suggest something useful. For example, it can suggest you to have index lower on email, for example, to have it cancel sensitive, or to use data type CI text, cancel sensitive text, right? If you convert it to column 1, it will work less efficiently, right? But you lose something here, some senses, right? From that can be derived from names, but at least you are protected. If you transform to some weird names using some tools or maybe your own new ones, and then in responses you transform substrings back to it, it will protect you almost fully. Some people told me that some SQL queries, their structure can be also like considered as IP. Well, I can share very advanced SQL examples, very advanced. I learned from other people. I will still. I like this is about area 3 patents. Okay, like this query text, explain plan text.
It's not just patents. It's not just patents, though, right? It's also even coming up with those. It is might be somewhat novel, and the idea that like
here, I think everything should be open. All recipes, Postgres is open. Recipes should be open. Talks should be open. Recordings should be open. Everything should be open. In this case, like
I feel like we're probably out of.
Yeah. Okay.
We've run long. I think it's a good one still, but
it was supposed to be a very short episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you want to conclude?
Verify, check, test, experiment,
and use it as a. I like the thinking of using it as like a brainstorming tool, like as a creativity tool, give you ideas, and very much don't trust anything it says, but you might get some good ideas from it.
Don't trust our episodes. I'm mistaken very often. I don't trust myself. I verify. Like a couple of years ago, I think it was working. I'm not sure. Let's verify it. Especially we have new version of Postgres. Let's verify it on our case and it's sure that it's working. That's why we need to simplify experiments to make them cheap and fast.
Nice one. Well, thank you, Nikolay. Thanks, everybody, and see you next week.